Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We take the source material you share with us, we really get stuck in and pull out the key knowledge, the most useful insights, so you can walk away well-informed fast. And today's Deep Dive is, well, incredibly focused. It's all centered on just one single title, which pretty much lays out its own strategy, English Life Lessons on Money and Success. And the subtitle is, Learn English Through Life Lessons About Money and Success. Yeah, that title. That's such a perfect example of what a, let's say, goal-oriented learner is looking for. It combines two really massive objectives right there. So our mission today is clear. We need to unpack the core practical benefit. What do you actually get by pairing advanced English learning with these fundamental ideas about financial literacy and, well, success? What's the shortcut here for you?
I think the key insight right out of the gate, it's leverage. This source is basically promising knowledge that stacks. It's not just learning a language in isolation, it's using English as a tool, a tool that delivers immediate practical results related to, say, building wealth or advancing your career.
It feels like the ultimate fast track, doesn't it, for two skill sets that the global economy really demands.
Exactly. Efficiency. Okay, let's look at the structure of that title. Learn English Through Life Lessons. That immediately tells me this isn't about just passively absorbing grammar rules. It suggests learning English with a very specific mission. Why is connecting the language so explicitly to topics like money and success? Why is that such a powerful way to learn?
Well, it comes down to relevance, really. Relevance equals retention. Think about why people sometimes struggle to remember vocabulary from a standard textbook.
Right, it feels disconnected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Often it's because they're not using those words in a context that genuinely matters to them. But when the content is about something high stakes like your financial future, your career path, your brain just assigns massive importance to every single word and phrase.
Yeah.
You need to know the difference between profit and revenue, for example. It's not optional. So if English is basically the lingua franca, the common language of global business and finance, then this material is essentially teaching you the specific language of the boardroom, maybe. Not just the language you'd use in a cafe. You're cutting through the noise, focusing on the really high leverage terms.
Precisely. You're not learning English primarily for, say, culture or travel first. You're learning English for opportunity. And that means you're likely skipping the pleasantries about the weather and jumping straight into the language needed for negotiation, for investment analysis, for strategic planning. That vocabulary becomes instantly actionable.
Okay, let's make that really concrete for the listener right now. What kind of specific terms are we actually talking about here? If the aim is financial fluency, we're definitely moving beyond just simple buying and selling. We're talking about concepts that can be quite nuanced, even in your first language.
And that's where the real power lies, I think. This material is probably integrating vocabulary with quite complex economic ideas. So, for instance, you might be learning the word compound, but you're learning it while simultaneously internalizing the actual concept of compound interest.
Which is a huge life lesson all by itself.
Yeah.
But maybe for the listener who's focused mainly on the language part right now, what is compound interest? We should probably give that context.
Yeah, good point. A quick breakdown. Compound interest is simply earning interest on your initial investment plus earning interest on the interest you've already accumulated. It's basically money making money, which then makes more money. So the material isn't just handing you the word compound like an abstract verb.
Right.
It's grounding it in this fundamental idea that, time and consistency are incredibly powerful financial allies. You're learning a core principle of wealth creation while learning the English for it. Okay, now here's where I think it gets really interesting, especially for someone aiming for like a high-level professional role. The source title implies you're going to master the difference between terms that might sound similar but actually have vastly different implications in business. Let's take two basic ones, liquidity and solvency. Oh yeah, those are classic examples, concepts that are often confused. I'd imagine the deep dive content explains these with really clear scenarios. So liquidity, that's about how easily and quickly you can convert an asset into cash. Can you pay your short-term bills right now? You need liquid assets for the basically readily available cash.
That are readily available cash.
And solvency. Solvency is more the bigger picture. It's about whether a company or an individual has the ability to meet all its long-term financial obligations. So a company could actually be cash poor right now, low liquidity, but still be solvent if it owns valuable long-term assets like property or equipment.
Ah, I see.
So you're learning the English words, yes, but you're also getting the precise professional context you need to speak competently, maybe in a financial review or a business strategy meeting. This is what moves you from just being an English speaker to being a competent professional in English.
So the crucial takeaway here seems to be that you're acquiring the specific language toolkit that carries the most weight internationally. It focuses your learning energy right where the practical outcomes, the actual money and success, are decided.
And to take that just a step further, think about something like negotiation tactics. You're probably not just learning how to ask for a raise in simple terms. You're likely learning the cultural nuances, the linguistic subtleties around discussing concepts like risk management or asset allocation.
Right, the framing.
Exactly. You need the right vocabulary to frame your argument persuasively, and that's absolutely essential for professional advancement. Okay, let's pivot slightly. Let's look at the second part of the title's promise. The core subject matter itself, life lessons about money and success. This suggests the material isn't just a glossary of financial terms. It seems to be tackling the softer side, maybe, which is arguably just as important for success. Things like mindset and strategy, absolutely. That life lessons part is a strong signal that the material goes beyond just the math. It's likely delving into foundational principles, ethics in business decisions, cultivating, say, a growth mindset, and this is critical understanding the psychology behind success and, importantly, failure. All these abstract concepts are being communicated in English.
And this feels crucial for the learner who's looking for multiple perspectives. I mean, success isn't discussed the same way everywhere, is it? So by internalizing concepts like maybe delayed gratification or prudent investment through the medium of English, you're also kind of absorbing the prevailing cultural mindset around how success is framed in many English-speaking professional contexts.
It's all about context, isn't it? Think about a common idiom like skin in the game.
Okay.
It's an idiom, yeah, but it means having a vested personal interest, sharing in the risk. Learning that specific phrase isn't just about translating 3 words. It's about understanding a core financial and, frankly, motivational concept. The idea that commitment, real commitment, matters. The source material is probably packed with these kinds of linguistic shortcuts that convey pretty deep cultural understanding.
What about failure? You mentioned failure. Because success, let's be honest, is often defined by how you navigate setbacks.
Indeed. And the sort of Western business narrative often emphasizes ideas like failing fast or seeing setbacks as learning opportunities. This material likely gives you the specific vocabulary and the communication style you need to talk about failure without sounding defeated. That's a key skill in any dynamic work environment.
So you learn how to frame risk, frame failure as strategic steps, maybe, not as like permanent roadblocks.
Precisely. It's about learning that narrative, learning how to articulate it.
That's fascinating. It's really about aligning your financial vocabulary with the culture of professional ambition, in a way. This dual focus seems to ensure the learner gets equipped not just with the grammar, but also with the underlying philosophy.
And it directly addresses your need for practical application. You're getting strategic concepts that genuinely affect real-world outcomes delivered using the exact vocabulary needed to implement them on a global stage. It's like an immersion experience for both the language and the philosophy of wealth creation.
Okay, let's just step back for a second and synthesize this. We've established that this single source, just from its title, promises maximum learning efficiency. You get English skills and critical financial concepts mastered at the same time. But let me introduce maybe a point of friction here. Is there a risk that by focusing so intensely on this technical financial vocabulary, you might sacrifice broader cultural fluency or maybe conversational spontaneity? Are you missing out on the poetry, so to speak?
That's a really excellent point. And I think it comes down to a strategic choice the learner has to make. This kind of material, well, it isn't designed to make you a poet. It's designed to make you financially and professionally competent quickly. It's strategic optimization.
Okay.
So if your immediate goal is to step into a high-stakes professional environment, a global company, finance, tech, this focused approach probably gives you the maximum leverage for the time you invest. You can always broaden out, acquire more conversational nuance later on. This is about targeted impact.
So this method really positions English, not just as a global language, but maybe as the language of leverage, a tool specifically sharpened for economic mobility, for professional advancement.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The learner who picks this kind of source isn't just generally curious. They're aiming for precision. They need the exact phrases, the right concepts to discuss a budget convincingly, analyze a market trend accurately, or write a compelling business proposal without any ambiguity. And that level of competency, being fluent in the subject matter in English, that's often far more valuable in these specific domains than, say, perfect grammatical construction on unrelated topics.
So it's not just about understanding English in general. It's about making sure your financial ideas, your business strategies translate clearly and persuasively across borders. You're essentially building the mental framework for wealth creation directly in the language you plan to use for it.
And competence. Competence is really the ultimate measure of success in these high-value fields, isn't it? By integrating these life lessons, the source tries to ensure that the learner's ambition is matched with the actual technical and linguistic capability needed to achieve it.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive into what this really focused source is promising, let's quickly recap the powerful combination we've uncovered. It seems to provide utility, application, and that critical cultural context all rolled into one.
Definitely. It promises to cut out wasted time learning generic vocabulary that doesn't directly advance your immediate career or financial goals. Every phrase, every concept you learn is supposedly engineered for professional and financial ambition. It's language acquisition optimized, really.
And it ensures the learner understands the mindset, the strategic frameworks of success, alongside the actual words, which means you're ready not just to speak the language of money, but hopefully to think critically within that framework too. It's almost like an investment strategy for your education itself, trying to maximize the returns by stacking these critical skills simultaneously.
Right. Which brings us nicely to our final thought for you, the listener, to reflect on. If success so often hinges on clear, unambiguous communication, on persuasive rhetoric, just how much more powerful could your financial future be when you're equipped not just with the right ideas, but with the precise vocabulary and the foundational concepts delivered in a globally dominant language like English? What specific vocabulary of success, whether that's technical, maybe ethical, or strategic, what part of that vocabulary do you need to master next to unlock that next level of opportunity you're aiming for?
And making that decision, focusing your next learning push on maximum leverage, well, that's maybe the very first step toward achieving the kind of practical success this material seems to promise. A powerful concept to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into maximizing your learning investment. We'll catch you next time.